Alright boys, today I want to walk you guys through the exact 30 million audience indoctrination framework. I'm not sure if that's how I'm going to call this video yet, but that's what it is right now. Sounds pretty dang cool. The framework that we are using right now for all of our clients to turn cold leads into red hot leads, sales calls, and clients on complete autopilot. And how you can use this exact same strategy and framework to turn your content into a machine that does all the selling for you, right? So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get straight into the video. No case studies or nothing. If you want case studies, you can go to my other videos. I'm just going to get straight to the value on this one, right? So the single most powerful thing that you can do in order to get a prospect to buy is to align their beliefs with the beliefs they need to have in order to buy your offer. Okay, that is sort of the premise that this video is based on, right? Because with the content, we do mainly 4 different things, right? We focus on the 7 beliefs, which I want to go over. We give value, we show proof, and then we throw stones, okay? Because we want to be positioned as unique, superior, and simpler to all the competitors that you have, right? But in my opinion, the foundation of this and the most important part of these 4, well, I mean, they're all very important, but the foundation is aligning the prospect's beliefs with the beliefs that they need to have in order to buy, okay? Because there's absolutely nothing that's going to stop them from buying after you do that, right? Maybe except finances. We're also going to go into finances in this video. But yeah, like that's the single most important thing that you can do, right? Because if they believe everything you want them to believe, then their actions are going to align with those beliefs, okay? And that's what we're going for, right? And you don't have to just take my word for it, because this strategy comes from a sales expert doing $30 million a year in his business, and that is Cole Gordon. Okay, if you don't know who he is, he owns Closers.io, and his idea is that there are 7 beliefs a prospect must have in order to buy your product, okay? And those are pain, doubt, cost, desire, money, support, and trust, okay? And his theory is, which is pretty proven because he trains killer sales reps and he places killer sales reps into companies, and he knows what he's doing because he's making a shit ton of money just from, like his whole business is around sales. He streamlines sales processes, he places closers, trains closers, and he used to be a closer himself. His like sort of theory is that if you align all 7, you will close 100% of the calls that you take. Okay, and since he's in the game of sales and closing, he has a sales call process and framework he uses to align all these on the call. Right, that's very important. He uses these on the call, right, because he's not really a marketer, right? However, what we can do to take this one step further and make this even more effective, because like if you're not a killer closer, if you haven't had thousands of sales calls, you may miss a few of these, okay? If you follow a proven framework, you're probably going to get most of them most of the time. However, you may slip up. You know how it is when you're having a live conversation with a prospect. A lot of things can happen, right? I myself don't really like sales. I'm not that good at sales. What we can do, take this a step further, which is more effective, right? As I'm going to show you in a second, is that we can align all these before the call ever happens, aka in your content, right? And that way, when the call actually happens, the prospect is already pre-sold on your offer, and the call is literally just there to collect payment and then onboard them, right? And you may even get DM closes like we're getting right now, okay? And that's the main idea here. We want to keep repeating and instilling the same 7 beliefs in our content, tackling them from different angles, covering them up with different social proof, with different value, and just mixing, matching them together to make it inevitable for the prospect to believe what we need them to believe. Okay, and I have the definition of indoctrination here, right? Indoctrination is the process of inculcating a person with ideas, attitudes, cognitive strategies, or professional methodologies. And this is kind of like we're doing here, right? Low-key, like this, what we're doing kind of sounds like indoctrination. I'm going to be fully transparent with you. Except that we're actually doing it by educating people and providing a shit ton of value. Plus, if your program is good, then indoctrinating people into buying it is kind of the best thing you can do, right? This is going to be very, very powerful, and indoctrination isn't a word that people like. I'm not surprised. However, if you sell a really dang good program and you're actually educating and giving value while breaking these beliefs, and you're breaking limiting beliefs and you're replacing them with empowering beliefs that are going to help a person, then it's kind of your obligation to indoctrinate them, if you will, right? So let's dive into each belief more specifically, and then how we're actually going to shift these beliefs. All right. So there are basically 2 main parts to this. How do I figure out these beliefs? What am I supposed to shift? Right. And then how you actually shift them. And those are basically 2 parts that this video is focused on. Right. So basically, in order to figure out these beliefs, you're going to have some homework to do. Right. But, if you want to see any sort of results, you're going to have to put in the work. But basically, you want to ask yourself these questions. right? Like actually create a worksheet with these questions on it and then write down your answers. This is what we do with all of our clients. And then this will give you an unlimited supply of content ideas. That's one. And it will just show you how deeply you know your target audience. And then this list can keep on growing as you grow your business and as you get more data, and then you have more belief to shift, right? If somebody comes onto your sales call without a shifted belief, right, and their belief isn't aligned with the one that you would want them to have, you can make a couple of pieces of content about that belief, right? And then you can basically objection handle in your content, right? And basically this list, the goal is for it to keep growing as you, expand your business. And these are going to be content ideas that aren't just focused on virality, that aren't, just out of your ass, but these will actually convert your audience into buyers, okay? Because this is based on what your audience wants, what they fear, what they, desire, right? So the first one is going to be pain, right? So what are the pains of your dream clients? Okay, I'm just going to use the example of a weight loss coach because that's the easiest example. But the pains, it can be that you're overweight, but the true pain is that you can't get up in the morning, is that you're slow, is that people make fun of you, right? There's so many of these little hidden pains, okay? Like if you're broke, the pain isn't not having money in your account. The pain is not being able to buy the things that money lets you buy, right? It's not having the freedom, and it's not having the impact that you want, right? It's also worth mentioning that pain is the foundation of all 7 of these beliefs, okay? All these other ones are predicated on the fact that your prospect has a pain, right? Because if your prospect doesn't have a pain, then they don't have a desire because they're not in pain, okay? And doubt is the inability to solve a pain or a problem. And if there's no problem, then there's no doubt. And then there's also no support because there's no decision to be made, right? How can every decision maker be on board if there's no decision? Right, so it's very important to be selling with people who are actually in pain or have unfulfilled desires, who have some form of problem that you can solve, right? Which is why we're starting out with pain, right? Because it's basically the most important belief that we need to have, right? So we need to make sure that your audience is in pain, and then we need to basically know what these pains are, right? So write these out right now, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to number 2, it's going to be desire, right? And oftentimes this is just the opposite of pain, right? So if you're not able to get up in the morning, you just want to get up in the morning. If you're, obese, you don't want to be obese. So that's basically desire, right? But it's going to be reformulated into sort of the opposites. And these will also help you get different reactions from your prospects, right? So for example, if you're running an ad, or if you're even DM setting, if you start off going into the pain, people are going to click off because they don't want to hear about their pain so early on, right? People way more like to hear about their desire, right? People way more like to hear about their desire, which is why in our ads, usually we start off with the desire. If you're an online coach who wants to get this dream outcome, because if we said that if you're an online coach who's struggling with X, Y, and Z, a lot of people would click off, okay? Because they don't want to hear about their pains or about their problems, okay? But they like hearing about their desires. So that's also something that's worth keeping in mind whenever you're making content, right? But the most important thing is that you also want to keep in mind the pain, and you definitely want to mention the pain very often. Because if you just talk about the desire, then your prospect won't have the motivation to take action because there is no pain, if that makes sense, right? So then you want to go desire. What are the desires of your dream clients? And then you want to write those out. Then you want to go doubt. So do they doubt that they can solve the problem themselves, or do they doubt that you're the best solution, right? So what you can do to instill doubt is a content idea that I like and that we're implementing for one of our fitness clients is, like you've been trying to lose weight for your whole entire life, right? But you still haven't done it. And, you have lost a bit of weight, but then you gained it all back, right? It's because you can't do it yourself. And then what we like to do, which I'll get into how to actually shift these beliefs, is then you can back it up with social proof. So you can say something like, the problem that you're having is that you can't lose weight and you want to lose weight, right? And you can't lose weight on your own because you've been struggling your entire life. And that's the same situation that my client was in. Okay, he was struggling to gain weight on his own. He had inconsistent results. However, what we did was, when he joined my program, everything changed. He started getting consistent results because he had somebody in his corner who was helping him. Then you have trust. So trusting that you or your offer is the best solution for them. A lot of this just comes down to spamming client results and social proof, okay? Because that's going to build a shit ton of proof. And then also educating your prospect, which is the pillars we have here, right? We give value when we show proof. That's going to build a lot of trust because you're going to show that you know what you're talking about. And you're going to show them that you've done this before and that this works, which is going to build a lot of trust. Support is every decision maker on board. Well, one of the things that we like to do once again for our fitness client is something like, does your wife approve of you being overweight and not happy with, um, you know, who you are? Well, obviously not. So why would she be opposed to something that changes that, right? That's one of the ways that you can, make sure that support is aligned, and you can also just get them to visualize sort of what how would you achieving your dream outcome impact everybody around you. You getting to 50K a month or to 100K a month would make everybody who's around you, it would make their life easier, right? Because they then maybe you could retire your parents, right? And that's also support, right? Because maybe somebody doesn't support you right now, but they sure as hell will after you retire them and you place them on a yacht, right? So that's support. Money, are they financially capable? The only real way that you can sort of make sure this belief is aligned is by targeting the right people. Okay, you want to make sure that you're targeting people who have money. If you're selling to 15-year-olds, they probably don't have money, right? Whereas if you're selling to business owners, they probably have money, right? And then cost, which is basically the question, is the cost of not investing greater than the cost of investing in both the time, the energy, and the money that is required, right? And this one, what I like to do is I like to say something along the lines of, imagine you 10 years from now and nothing changes. Where are you going to be? Right? You're probably still going to be in the same place, or you're going to lose everything you have because you're on the wrong track, right? And that just basically magnifies the also pain that they have in their head, and it makes them see the investment as way smaller, right? Which is something that you can do. So it's like, would you rather spend 1K on this fitness coaching program, or would you rather your current eating habits take years off your life plus decrease the overall quality of your life? Okay. And now I can give you all these ideas, but what you're actually going to have to do is you're going to have to know your market, and you're actually going to have to think, like, what are my audience's pains, desires? How can I make them doubt that they can solve themselves? You're going to have to ask yourself all these questions. But once you do, you are literally going to have an unlimited amount of content ideas that you can just spam, tackle them from different angles, and break beliefs and then align beliefs. And then when you combine that with giving value, showing a lot of social proof, right? Like in one reel, you can give value, you can shift a belief, and then you can show proof. That's going to be really powerful. And then if you throw stones at different mechanisms in that same reel, that's going to be a very, very powerful reel, right? That's basically going to be unlimited content ideas. Okay, and this is going to be content that's going to convert. It's not going to be workout content or motivational content that's going to get millions of views. However, it will be content that's actually going to put money into your bank account. All right, cool. So now you know what these beliefs are, and now you know your target audience and what sort of things you should target. But how do you actually break a belief in your content? And how do you rebuild it in a way that aligns with the beliefs that you need your prospect to have? Okay, so this is basically the what. Now we're going to go into the how, right? So I have this little graph here that I created especially for this video, right? And this is basically how you actually shift the belief, okay? So there's 5 main steps to this process, all right? The first one is you want to identify the belief, right? So basically these are the 7 beliefs. You just want to take one, right? So for example, I want to use an example of my own for this one, because that's just probably the easiest, right? So the first belief, that let's say we're rebuilding the belief that cold outbound isn't good, okay? And my audience thinks that cold outbound is one of the best ways to scale their business. Okay, I want to break that, and I want to break that belief, right? So I want to identify it, right? So the belief is cold outbound is the best way to scale to 50K per month, right? Then what I want to do is I want to acknowledge that belief, which is going to go into the confirmation bias, right? And the confirmation bias is basically, we like hearing what confirms and is in line with what we already believe. Okay, if I just went in and I said like, cold outbound shit, stop doing it, you're stupid, that isn't going to do as well, right? Whereas if I went in and I said, cold outbound it's good for getting your first 2 clients, so I understand where you're coming from, and you believe this because of this reason. However, there's a better way. That's going to do way better, right? Because I've agreed with them, and now these people are going to like me a little bit more, and they're going to be more biased to listen to me because I use the confirmation bias, okay? And there's going to be 3 biases used in this sort of technique, which is why I'm showing you guys this, because I think this is very important. And these biases come from Charlie Munger. If you don't know who Charlie Munger is, he is Warren Buffett's business partner at Berkshire Hathaway. He is very, very intelligent and a very good business person, and I recommend looking into him if you don't know who he is or if you haven't looked into him yet, Basically, he has these confirmation biases, and we're using 3 here just because they work so dang well, right? So we're going to acknowledge, right? And then we're going to break. So I could be like, yeah, cool, you believe that. You believe it because of this. And, you know, I understand where you're coming from. You are kind of right. Then we're going to break. However, it's not the best to do this thing for this reason. It's not the best to scale to 50K a month because it's very, very complex. Right? You're going to reach the point of complexity super quick. You're going to have to manage a team of VAs, and you're going to have to allocate a lot of attention to that traffic system, right? And then we rebuild, right? So the best way to scale to 50K per month is by using paid advertising combined with content. Content's going to do the selling. Advertising is going to bring in the perfect fits, and it's going to do that completely on autopilot without you having to dedicate any of your attention to it, right? And it's going to position us as the authority, right? Because we give value, right? And it's also going to be a reciprocation bias because we're giving value, right? And then authority because we're showing what we are talking about. So it's actually like 4 biases used here, right? So then we want to rebuild. Then after we rebuild, then we back it up with social proof. So this is how my client X scaled from 10K a month to 50K per month in 60 days. Okay. All right. So once again, because I know that could have been a little bit complicated, right? So we identify the beliefs, and we did that with this little worksheet, right? And then in the actual reel itself, starting here, we're going to acknowledge how they believe something and sort of not agree with it, but acknowledge like, hey, you believe it, it's understandable, and you are kind of right. However, that's how we want to acknowledge it. Then we want to break it. So we want to say like, that's wrong. And then we want to rebuild it with our own mechanism, and then we want to back it up with social proof. So like, hey, you believe this, and you're kind of right. However, it's not the best way to go about things. This is much better because of this reason, right? And then social proof. This is how my client did this. This is how I achieved your dream outcome, right? And you're going to know their dream outcome because you got in their desire, right? And this is going to lead to their beliefs aligning with yours, and them actually wanting to hop on a call with you. And then when they hop on a call with you, they're going to be pre-sold because all their beliefs will already align, which, as we know from Cole Gordon, is literally the criteria that we need to get a 100% closer. So I actually want to show you guys my reel on cold outbound really quickly, because I think it's going to illustrate this in a great way. So let's do it. Let me turn it up. Using cold DMs to scale in 2023 is completely dead. Right now here, I just went in straight off the bat with saying that it's dead because that's the hook, right? And the hook's always got to be strong. But listen to what I do now. Now I'm going to acknowledge. Now doing cold outbound is the best and probably the only way for you to get your first few clients and case studies in the door. But right, I acknowledge how they believe something. I'm like, yeah, cool. You are kind of right because it's the best way to get your first couple of clients, in my opinion. But now here's where we're going to break. It's very difficult to scale, and you reach the point of diminishing returns very quick. There it is, right? So I told them that it's difficult to scale. That's the problem. And then I gave them a reason why, right? You reach the point of diminishing returns. And it's very complex. Because as soon as you realize that you want to scale, that means you're going to have to do more cold outbound, into the problems you're going to need to hire team members, and that system is going to get super complex, super quick, and it's not going to be very scalable. And it's going to take a lot of attention from other parts of your business. As soon as you've established, and now here I'm going to rebuild, right? Just cash flow from your first couple of clients, and you have case studies that you can use to market. Then you can start building a simpler, which also means a more scalable inbound traffic system, which brings your dream clients to you inbound instead of having you go and chase them. Alright, cool. And then here I could have added some social proof. I have social proof in some of my other reels. I could have added some on the back end of that reel, which also could have helped. Or I could have added some even at the start. Like, this is how my client scaled. He used to do cold outbound, but then he realized that although it's the best way to get your first few clients, it's not scalable, and you're better off just investing into more of a simpler and scalable traffic system, right? So if I added social proof there, that would have been an even better reel. But that's basically just a good way to illustrate to you how I acknowledge beliefs, how I break beliefs, and how I rebuild beliefs, and what sort of frameworks we use and what we teach all of our clients, right? And then one last final thing that I want to mention is that here we're using multiple cognitive biases, right? There's even like 4, because here I guess we could add like reciprocity bias, right? Cool. You guys can't even read that, but it doesn't matter, right? But my point is that by having multiple of these cognitive biases in your reels, right, working in your favor, you're also taking advantage of the Lollapalooza effect, right? Which is when multiple cognitive biases work in one direction at the same time, right? So Charlie also talks about this, and it's basically when multiple cognitive biases, like these 4 that we have here, work in the same direction at the same time, the effects of these biases don't just add up, but they sort of interact and they compound and they freaking multiply in crazy ways. And they create an incredibly strong pull in that one direction, right? So because we are using 4 of these, that's going to mean that the belief shifting process is going to be way more powerful, and we're way more likely to actually shift the belief, right? Which is why we don't just break, because if we just like in the breaking, there's no actual bias, right? Like in this phase, there is no bias that's working towards us. But if we acknowledge, that's a confirmation bias. We rebuild, then we have two more biases. Social proof, that's another bias, right? Cool. So I think I went over everything that I wanted to go over today. Let me know if this was helpful. I literally gave you guys everything away. I did not hold anything back. This is literally how we shift beliefs. This is how billionaires literally decide what to say and what to invest in, right? Charlie's an investor, and he uses these biases to choose what he invests in. This is how Cole Gordon, who made $30 million, I think in 2022 or 2021, I could be mistaken on the year, but 30 million, what he uses to close at insanely high percentages, and what he uses to train insanely good sales reps. So if you guys enjoy this, then drop me a sub. I think I'm at like 1 subscriber right now, so that's not cool. But if you guys subscribe, that would really help me out. If you have any questions on this, I'm more than happy to answer them on my Instagram. So DM me. This is my Instagram. I had to create a new Instagram because I can't run ads on my other Instagram, which kind of sucks. But hey, we build. So DM me on Instagram, right here, this Instagram, if you have any questions regarding this, or if you want to learn more about what we actually do in the system that we use to help our clients scale from 5 to 10K a month to 25 or 50K per month, then if you want to check out how this funnel works, and I have a video on my channel going over just that. I'll put it up on the end screen over here somewhere, like left or right, I don't know where I'm gonna put it, but I want to put it up so you can go ahead and watch that next. That's also going to be really valuable, and if you like this video, you're also going to like that one. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.